Henshaws, daily living.
Hello, welcome to Henshaws Tips, Tricks and Tech. I'm Debbie. I've come from behind the camera today to talk with Kim here about the Ombudsman. So this isn't really a tip, trick or any tech we've got for you today. It's more an information and advice piece. We're here to talk about what to do if you are in a situation with your social care provider or with the NHS and you've got a complaint to be made. So the Ombudsman are people that you can go to if you've got a problem, and they will investigate that for you and help you resolve it. Now, Kim here, Kim, you have a visual impairment. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
I have macular degeneration, I have no central vision, peripheral, I've also got Charles Bonnet, glaucoma, I had cataracts, I've got really bad eyes.
Can you explain how that affects you, just sort of briefly? What level of sight have you got now?
I have no central vision. One eye can barely see, the other one again has no central vision, but the surrounding area is quite scarred, so I can see glimpses of things like words, but they sort of disappear as soon as I try and focus on it.
Right.
And things are very distorted, so I see mainly by colours.
Right. And can you tell us when this happened, how long ago it was, how long did you...
25 years ago, I was 30 years old.
30?
Yeah,
right.
4 children. It was pretty devastating.
I'm sure. So what led you to need to use the Ombudsman?
I ended up in a hospital with an emergency operation, and I rang the social care side to say that I need more support after I came out of hospital, as one of my PAs had left.
So you were already having support from a second?
Yes, I was at the time 67 hours a week.
Right.
Although one had left, so that had been reduced to something like 40. I was only utilising about 40 hours.
Right.
And then the social worker from the hospital also rang social services to make sure that care was put in place. I came out, and unfortunately my stitches burst. I went back in, same thing happened. The phone calls were made, I came back out. And the third time, it was pretty serious. I ended up almost dying and in ICU. And when I eventually was discharged, I had lost even more use of one side of my body. I had what they call ICU myopathy, so I could barely walk, talk, sort of move about. So I was like 10 times worse than I was before I went in.
It's quite clear that you needed more support. So you lived alone? You live alone?
I just started living alone at that time, yes.
So you needed more support
Yeah.
at home. And your local council did what position were they in?
They did nothing. So what they started to do was, at the same time, they were doing assessments for direct payments.
Right.
So they started assessing me, and despite the fact that I was considerably worse from the first meeting, even before they found out sort of anything about me, the social worker actually said, we're going to cut your hours down to 4 hours a day. And it was, how can you say that before you've even done the assessment? And the whole way through, we had medical evidence. I complained that I needed the more help, and she just refused to listen to me. She told me that I didn't need care, to the point where I said, you know, there are times when at the weekend I don't have any staff and nobody comes in, and I can't even make a cup of tea because just to get to the kitchen was difficult.
So they didn't really understand your situation in
No.
your day-to-day life?
And then was still, all the sort of information that she was sending me, emails, letters, they were done in a format that I couldn't access, and I kept telling her, I cannot access this.
So they didn't understand your disability
No,
at all?
not at all.
So that was the point at which you decided to go to the Ombudsman?
I did.
And can you tell us a bit about, well, your experience with them, how they dealt with you, and also what the process is?
Well, you can't go to the Ombudsman until you've lodged a complaint, and the complaint has come to the end and you've had a final decision.
Right.
At that point, if you're not happy, you can go to the Ombudsman.
Right. So it has to be an existing official complaint?
It does.
Yeah.
Now, once you go to the Ombudsman and they talk to you, and they talked to me, and they were brilliant. Straight away, I sort of explained about my visual impairment, my disabilities, And the first question they asked me, which all the way through with my counsel they never ever asked, was what format do you want the letters? What is the best way of dealing this with you? And how can we help you?
Brilliant. So they just understood, or they wanted to understand.
They wanted to understand. And the lady that actually took on my case, she was that good. She actually went away and sort of found out a bit more about my disability to make things easier for me.
Brilliant. So they actually educated themselves around it. And
Yes.
fabulous. So what was the process then? Can you tell us a little bit about like the length of the process, how it worked?
It is a lengthy process, but once I had sort of told them my complaint and ran through it, and I didn't even have to put it in writing because I did it all over the phone because that was easier for me. That was pretty much it. It was then left in their hands. So they contacted the council, they got all the information. I would get the odd sort of phone call as they knew this was the best way for me to be able to be contacted. And they would ask me questions and then they would go away and do their work. And sort of in the meantime, you know, there was literally nothing for me to do. There was like
They do the work.
Yeah, there was no stress about writing letters or emails.
Right.
There was no stress about trying to access information. They did everything.
And what was the result?
The result was they agreed with everything I said. In fact, so much so that they asked if they could do a public report,
Right.
which is where they publicise it, and it is quite a serious thing.
Yeah.
And so the council then have to have a full sitting of the council. They have to go through the full report and make a plan of action. They had to write to me with an apology, and it also got put into all the newspapers. And at the end of it, which we're still in the process of, they have to have another council meeting to talk about the changes they have made, and then they have to tell me, and I actually get the minutes of the meetings to go through, although it's not in accessible form. But yeah.
Small progress. So you're back to 67 hours now?
Temporarily,
Right.
because one of the recommendations was that they had to reassess me correctly and take in consideration fluctuating needs, because I have an illness that has fluctuating problems,
Right.
and also to take in consideration my visual impairment, so that whoever deals with me has to be visually impaired, trained, and that a visually impaired officer has to come and talk to me.
So you'd hope at a local government level that they're getting disability awareness training anyway, wouldn't you? But there's clearly...
They
work
say
to
they
do.
are, but they're obviously not, because, you know, I was saying things like, you know, I have a tablet that's very small and I have neurological problems, so I think I've taken it, but I can't see to have taken it.
Yeah.
And they couldn't understand that.
Really?
And they couldn't understand that it was not possible for me to read a tablet box to find out what medication it is, or to differentiate between two tablets that may be different colours but were the exact same size. I can't see the colours, so, you know.
But they didn't get that.
They didn't get that at all.
Well, hopefully you have helped to educate them a bit and to start a change there. But it's fantastic to hear the Ombudsman were really forward thinking. They really got disability awareness and worked with you really well.
They were utterly amazing. I cannot fault them at all. And the thing is that the council cut my hours down from 67 to 25, which I cannot. I mean, that is impossible for me. And in the year and a half that this complaint with the Ombudsman was going on, they'd cut my hours down to 25, and I had over 70 injuries.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's just not safe, is it?
No, it isn't. And straight away, the Ombudsman, once they did the report, said you have to reinstate our hours and do a proper assessment. And then once they've done all of the recommendation, then that goes back to the Ombudsman so they can have a look at it. And if needs be, and I'm not happy, I can then complain again. All I can say is that as soon as the Ombudsman got hold of the complaint, I literally did nothing.
Yeah.
It was easy. It was just sitting at home, the odd phone call to ask me questions, and that was it. And there was no stress, no worry, no massive amounts of paperwork, nothing.
Brilliant, thank you so much for that, Kim. It's really interesting. Hopefully you've inspired some of our service users out there. So there's 2 ombudsmen there that are relevant for you. I'll put a link to both organisations in the description below, but also feel free to get in touch if you want any more information or support from us. Thank you so much for watching this video. At the end now you're going to see a big pink square that says donate on it. Please click it. We are a charity and we need donations to make more of these videos and reach more people. So if you can help in any way, that would be amazing. And come back and watch again soon. Bye.
Our videos are helping people across the world. If you found them useful, please donate on our website so we can keep making more videos like this in the future.
Henshaws, supporting people with sight loss and a range of other disabilities to go beyond expectations.